So this Sue Gordon is a very close friend of John Brennan, very close, longtime associate of Mike Morrell. These folks were the ones that decided to do Libya, to do Syria, to do Sudan, to do Yemen on their own volition because they thought that they were smarter than the Gang of Eight. Maybe they had one or two people on the Gang of Eight, like Nancy Pelosi, on the Intelligence Committee. Maybe there was one or two over in the Senate that were in the Special Access Program like McCain. But we know pretty sure that not the whole Gang of Eight was being informed. You could call it the Gang of Four in the House and the Gang of Four in the Senate. If they were, it was their own private little club, and their own communications was certainly Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the person now we know that provided those communications. He provided the server. He was up at the Navy Observatory before that for 8 years. That was his home, where we've taken you many times, right next to where Carter Page's office was. And then for 30 years before that, he was in the Senate Armed Self-Services Committee. So he's been very close with McCain for all these years to form this kind of pay-to-play insiders club. And we know it's Biden. We know now it's Biden. Now today we find that Ezra, our friend Ezra, who is the spy in the White House that Trump was talking about, Ezra Cohen Watkins, or Watnick, excuse me, was also an intern for Biden. So I additionally interview in April of 2000 or May of 2017, after I discovered the DNC hard drives, I discovered the DNC Blackberries. I then interview a 20-year person. I think he said almost 30 years he's been on Capitol Hill. And he's the one who told me Imran configured all those top secret Blackberries. He actually left his Blackberry. We were together, a long dinner, had a lot of wine together. He left me his Blackberry, so I have physical evidence and proof. The next day, we took it to JTTF in Alexandria, Jason and I have film of that. So again, I produced that Blackberry that night, even though it's pixelated. The next day, I produced the same Blackberry, again, from this deep Blackberry contact. I still don't know his name. And we produced it. Now, the interesting thing, so he's a fact witness now, and he can talk about this server, this special server that had covert action, the covert action server, which I admitted yesterday I now believe was in the White House, Now, do I believe it was downstairs in the Situation Room in the White House? Not necessarily something that Obama would have tripped over every day. Yes, I still believe that, but it was in the White House. I am saying that. And we know the Awans were coming and going in the White House. We know Imran was bragging about being in the White House. We also know that we had strucks, all kinds of strucks. Navy strucks, Coast Guard strucks, nurse strucks, people on the Coast Guard in Corpus Christi, people on the Coast Guard of Los Angeles or San Diego, all coming for midnight meetings at the White House. Again, I did a lot of stories on that. The other person that this Blackberry mapped to was, again, another person in Navy Intel. So Ezra Watnick, this guy who's spying, that Trump says is going to end up accusing of being a spy for Sue Gordon, he also is Navy or Marine. We don't know if he's Navy or Marine yet. Born in Connecticut. We don't know exactly, but it looks like he took nuclear training in Tennessee, so we don't have all the details on him. But again, it looks like Sue Gordon is the hub in this network analysis, and she's getting data from 5 different intelligence agencies, 5 different runners, if you will, 5 different liaisons are bringing this data into her. One of them is a guy named Evanina. There's another person from CIA who's going to be this Watnick. There's another guy who follows Watnick named Barry at the White House. There's going to be that role. But remember, all these people were together. All these same people were together when we did Libya. All of these, and Mike Flynn was either the deputy at DIA or the DIA head during Libya. Same thing is true. Mike Flynn leaves DIA, and then Syria happens. And then, of course, Sudan happens at the same time, pretty much. And then you have, then after that, Yemen. Of course, we just had Joe Wilson, the husband of Valerie Plame, who had outed the Bushes and had outed Scooter Libby and had outed all these folks with the Cheneys and so forth, just died at 69 of a heart attack, unexpected heart attack. So Again, all the people that seem to be put in as far as the insiders in the campaign, on the GOP side, seem to be put in by Dick Cheney and Scooter Libby. Longtime associate of Scooter Libby, one of his proteges, George Papadopoulos, the other one, Carter Page. So it definitely is a crossfire hurricane. It's not the first version, which was more of a Blackwater outsourced. You had Joe Schmitz and you had Cofer Black and you had people that were sort of outsourcing the intelligence, MI6, Christopher Steele, etc., the Awans. This one is all CIA. This is all CIA officers on that CIA server. It is going to be the server. It is going to be the server. I have two fact witnesses on Joe Biden's staff, now a third fact witness with this Ezra Watnick that can be asked questions. Not just Watnick. If you let CIA put just who they want to put up, if you let Nancy Pelosi control this whole thing, the rules have been changed as far as impeachment are concerned, by the way. They used to have a minority voice. You used to, before they even drafted an inquiry, you had a minority voice and you had a full vote in the House. Now they've changed the rules. Nancy Pelosi's changed those rules, so you're not going to see any minority voice until the actual trial. The House will vote, send it to the Senate for the trial, and then Trump will be able to call witness, and this is not until then. That's why it's so important that we push these fact witnesses out now. It's going to be too late after the impeachment vote in the Senate. It's going to be too late to talk about Deep Blackberry. It's going to be too late to talk about the Gontner. And also Gontner's brother also worked for Biden on Capitol Hill in the House of Representatives. It's going to be too late to subpoena Sue Gordon for her records and her communications if we don't start painting the network now so that we're ready before even the inquiry. The best thing would be to put off the inquiry vote altogether. Later on, Jack Abramoff, of course, and our person at Burisma, Devon Archer, are good at the Indian reservations. They know how to get that printing press going to print bonds for doing these covert actions overseas. So Devon Archer's been, with the Sioux Indian Nations, been tagged and convicted. Then he later got it overturned, but convicted kind of covert force together. Remember, when you get a covert force together, you're not done. You've got to get weapons flown in so they can train. You got to have somebody build a training grounds for them. Just like this park here, you have to have somebody do that work. You have to train, just like Bay of Pigs, over a series of months, over and over. You have to build models of the thing that you're going to attack. You have the little maps with the pointers and so forth. There's a whole preparatory phase that costs money. You haven't made any money yet in Libya. You're going to split Libya in half, but you haven't made any money yet. You need to take over Libya first, right? And then you get the oil. Then you can sell the oil rights when you're done. So Libya is a good model to look at. And all these people we're talking about were involved in Libya. Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, Watnick, Mike Morrell, David Petraeus, General Flynn. Everybody's involved. Jonathan Brennan, Michael Hayden, Clapper was at ODNI. It's a perfect model for putting the whole the second takedown, the second dossier on Trump together.